Well, without spoiling what happens in the film, obviously, because I wrote the film, it's been a very good day, I have to say. The project has had difficulties, but today has been one of the best days, I think. It felt more focused, and I felt more focused because I had to juggle quite a lot because I was acting today as Brosnan in the scenes that we were filming, whereas in the past few weeks I've been directing. So it's hard to this day's been challenging for me because I've had to try and get back into character after so long because obviously the project was cancelled prior to a few months ago, and since the easing of COVID restrictions I've now been able to revive it. So yeah, I'd say we did pretty well, and yeah, I'm happy. The best? That's hard to say. I don't want to sound pretentious because I'm the director. I think the scene in the forest between Brosnan and Jinx, that one is one of my favourites in the script. I enjoyed that because it explores a lot more of Jinx as a character. Jinx, the new character we have in this one, and her relationship with her family, and also how Brosnan's ties into that as well. This one is different in that respect. There's more of an in-depth characterization, I think, than the first two. So yeah, I'd say that one is, and it's different to something that was written in the first two, I think. So yeah, I'd say that one. Directing a scene I'm in, well, I mean, I've done it before, obviously. I've played Brosnan in all three movies. I mean, at the time, I was looking for someone to do this, but at the time I was struggling so much, and it got closer to the time I was going to shoot the first, and I basically helped myself out, and I stepped in and did it. I think the struggle is trying to remember what everyone is doing, including yourself. You're so focused and fixated on where everyone else is and what they're doing, then you forget what you're doing. It's very easy to fall into that trap, I find, and with Brosnan, this is sort of the first major filming I've done for Brosnan since I've revived the project, and it was hard to get back into character. I often prefer directing scenes that I'm not in because it's easier, but at the same time, I do love acting, and I enjoyed this character, and I'm a big Bond fan, so I'm willing to put everything into it. So it doesn't feel like a chore or like a stress, but it's a stress, but a good one. And I hope that people may see some minor differences in the character compared to the first two films. I think he's grown up a bit since the first two. He's sort of finding his courage and sort of finding his identity in the family and also within himself. And I think that's the sort of he's almost one of the central characters in this one because he has a huge emotional story, and his identity is really is kind of a mystery to him. He has this sort of thing in his life that he doesn't know about very much, concerning what happened in the events of the first film and the second film. So this one will hopefully give viewers a clear indication of where the character lies, and hopefully, I mean, it's going to be quite shocking, I think, but hopefully it's going to be interesting to see how much this character has progressed. Keys and Billy are great guys. I mean, I've known them since school days, and that's how I got them involved. Billy is a fantastic actor, and I won't lie, I wrote the part of Judi Dench for him. So if anyone could dress up as a woman and do it so convincingly, it's him. Sometimes it's scary how convincing it is, and I hope if he sees this, he doesn't think that is a bad thing, because it's a compliment. Keys is also a great guy. He's very wise, and I thought he had some of the attributes, I think, for Roger Moore, and I was looking for actors making the first film, and it's been great to work with them again, and seeing their excitement for the project as well as my own is wonderful, and it's been so much fun, and I think it's been a nice way to kind of forget about the issues of COVID and lockdown, and just to bring some joy into people's lives, and these two guys are two of the best people I know, so I would gladly have them in any project as well as this. Yeah, well, obviously, all three of those guys are new. They haven't worked on the first two films. Obviously, the change of cast has not always been my decision. Actors drop out. This isn't a project where I unfortunately can afford to pay people, which is a shame. But I'm very lucky. I managed to meet them all in different circumstances, and they were very good. They were very on board with the project, and we had a great time. And they settled into their characters really well. And I think people are gonna enjoy seeing different incarnations of those particular Bonds compared to what we saw in the first two films, and hopefully this one raises the bar in terms of performance. And I think the actors in this film, I'm going to discount myself for a minute, are are on top form, and I think that that's something to be looking forward to. Well, Brosnan has been I think has been a central character throughout most of the trilogy. I can't give any spoilers away, of course, for the third, but what I will say is this is the most mature he's ever been. The first two films, he was not necessarily a coward, but he was very fearful of his demons, and also of his the horrors within his family, should we say? I mean, his family wasn't exactly functional, and his dad, he hasn't really had a great relationship with his dad. But I think this is the film where we finally see him change, and we see him discover who he is, we see him stand up for himself, and we see him having to try and find a way to reunite his family and carry his family forward. And also, through meeting Jinx, he sort of finds a way to do that. And I think people will be surprised and hopefully impressed with the way his character... It feels like his character has had an arc, because in the first film he is meant to be somewhat of a kid, and then he comes back in the second one. We don't quite know how or why, and he's still fairly similar to his original persona, but there are people out to get him. He's always been a bit of a victim, but now he's choosing to, after all of that horror, he's choosing to stand up and say, no, I've had enough and I'm going to take control. This is where he takes control, and that's what's been the most exciting about playing him in the third, is that it doesn't almost feel like the same character, which is interesting, I think.